What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and tonight what I have for you guys is a very interesting video. We have a couple of updates from Treyarch, and we also have some new information about just how severe skill-based matchmaking truly is within Black Ops Cold War. Some of this information may come across as a bit disappointing for those that heavily play multiplayer, but please bear with me. There are quite a few misconceptions worth debunking, and I have a lot to say about it. Definitely stay tuned. Now, this information was brought to us by a joint effort from Drifter, Exclusive Ace, Sour, and JGod. Their links will all be down below in the description. As opposed to just reacting to some of their videos and watching it here in my video, I'm going to take the important points from their vids and also give my thoughts on just how severe this truly is. But before I jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and also be sure to use code DYNAMITE to save 10% off any Control Freak orders. Their link is of course down below in the description. Now, first and foremost, earlier today, Treyarch changed their profile picture to a holiday-themed care package, which we'll be seeing on the holiday-themed Nuketown 84, which releases with the start of Season 1 in just a couple of days, so a nice teaser right there. Now, both Double XP and Double Weapon XP are both live in Black Ops Cold War right now. Definitely take advantage if you haven't hit max rank at this point. Max rank is currently level 100 or Prestige 3, so make sure you guys hit that so that once Season 1 begins, you can focus on the other 4 prestiges which are going to be added in. And speaking of that, Treyarch also tweeted a picture of what Prestige 4 looks like, but then Charlie Intel bounced back with pictures of Prestige 4 through 7. So some very nice icons there. And also as a reminder as well, you'll be able to redeem Prestige keys once the season starts in the new Prestige shop. So what the Prestige keys do is they allow you to actually purchase any Prestige icon of your choice, and the icons are from all previous Black Ops games. So if you want to rock a Black Ops 2 Prestige icon, or even a Blackout one from Black Ops 4, you'll be able to do that by spending your Prestige keys, which you of course earn every time you Prestige. Now, when it comes to skill-based matchmaking, this is honestly such an important video that I think everybody needs to listen to, especially if you want to hear my thoughts on skill-based matchmaking from the perspective of somebody that truly appreciates the Call of Duty franchise and just wants to see it get better. Again, this information was hard calculated by several content creators out there that care very much about the franchise and don't want to talk negative about it, but they have to keep it real. We're going to stick with transparency here with just how skill-based matchmaking works. So essentially, the more skill equals the more ping you're going to have. So yeah, you'll have a worse connection with the more skill that you have when you play multiplayer. That's crazy. I mean, they took several days, put in so many hours to find out just how severe this really is, and it kind of surprised me, right? How does your connection change based on how good you are at the game? Now, to make that very clear, this will really only affect players that are above average or even in the top 5%, so really skilled players in Black Ops Cold War multiplayer. And this really isn't a true skill-based matchmaking system, since it is based on recent performance more than skill. And what that means is that, yeah, this is really performance-based matchmaking, which can alter based on how you're playing. So they didn't have the biggest sample size, we'll put it that way. It's all hand calculated, but Activision obviously has a better way to organize these statistics, but they did do quite a bit of testing here, and there is a cap to this version of skill-based matchmaking, which means higher skilled players in the top 5% have essentially reached a peak in terms of skill. You can only go so far when it comes to how difficult your lobbies may become, and skill-based matchmaking in this game is quite similar to the version that was in Modern Warfare 2019. However, Cold War seems to be a lot stricter when it comes to your recent performance, hence why we call it performance-based matchmaking. For example, your last 5 games may have been great. Now, the next few matches you play may be a bit tough, right? You'll be going against, Call of Duty championship level players. It gets that frustrating. Or maybe your last 5 games were horrible and your next match may feel a little bit easier, right? It kind of weighs down on difficulty a little bit and you start having a better experience. Now, what they weren't able to figure out is how this recent performance works. Is it based on your last 3 games, your last 5 games, your last 10 games? They couldn't figure that out. Again, they are limited in terms of how much data they can collect, and Activision does have an easier way of determining how this all works, obviously, right? It's Activision, but there is in fact a correlation with your recent performance. That's why people reverse boost. They kill themselves thousands and thousands of times, and usually they do it consecutively across multiple games in a row, so that after, let's say, 10 plus games of playing like a potato, you then get put into these lower bracket lobbies with players who may be handicapped, maybe fucking blind, they might be little kids, they could be elderly. They want to get into those lobbies, whether it's for good gameplays, for a free nuclear, if they're a content creator that does multiplayer full time. That's kind of what's been going on, but but with Black Ops Cold War, it's even harder to get into these lower bracket lobbies. It's very frustrating for those out there that depend on good multiplayer gameplays for their livelihood. That's just how it's been lately. Now, something you may notice if you are an above average player is that enemies are usually always better, you know, when they're on the other team, right? You really never have a solid team of players if you're running solo, which gets really damn frustrating. I know I felt that plenty of times when I played solo, right? It's like, why is my team not doing anything, but the enemy team are playing super competitively, probably with good communication? Why is that? So, based on the data, statistically, you usually have some lower skill teammates that you're expected to carry, while the enemy team usually has players that are either around your skill level or maybe even a bit higher at times. So that's definitely frustrating, especially if you're not trying to carry, you just want to casually play multiplayer. But if you're not an above average player and you're kind of below average, maybe even worse, then most of the time you don't have to even play too hard, right? Or even focus that much, but the objective will still be played, you know, your team could still win. It just all depends on your recent performance, right? And the thing with that too is that there is exaggeration on both sides of the argument. What I mean by that is those that oppose skill-based matchmaking say that the game is just unplayable, and those that somehow like skill-based matchmaking, and trust me, there are people that do like it, say the game is perfectly fair for everybody and people can get better thanks to skill-based matchmaking. But let me just tell you, neither of those are actually right. And even though they're just opinions, again, I have to respect that, I will say statistically that's just really not how it works. So with skill-based matchmaking, the whole point of the system is about player retention. It wants you to keep playing as long as possible, you know, probably with hopes that you eventually spend money on microtransactions, right? So with skill-based matchmaking, it's really worth remembering that above average players won't always go up against a lobby of clones of themselves. It can happen, but based on the data, it's just not that strict. But sure, you'll see a lobby once in a while where there's that one person that's dominating the entire lobby. Then you'll get lobbies where the other team isn't even trying. You get the easiest win that you've gotten in a number of weeks. It's literally IRL RNG, right? You never know what you're gonna get, even though there is math to support that skill-based matchmaking does exist within Black Ops Cold War. Now, let me also stress this quite a bit, right? My problem isn't even that they haven't come out and addressed it, or we don't know how it works. Yes, that's a problem, but the real problem here, the roots of all of this, is with the ping. That's why I wanted to make this video, because imagine somebody out there that doesn't have that great of a connection. Their ping is kind of high as it is, but they're amazing at Call of Duty multiplayer. Their ping is going to get even higher as they get better at the game. But don't get this twisted either, right? As a huge reminder, there is a cap to all of this. As I said earlier in the video, you can only go so far, right? You know, you'll be above average or in the top 5%, and that's kind of it. You can't really go past that. So that means somebody right now who's in the top 5%, their ping isn't really going to get any higher than it already has. So, you know, you're not going to have a day where you drop 100 kills and then all of a sudden your ping is through the roof. It's not going to be like that, but it has been proven based on data that yes, your ping will be slightly higher than other players if you are better at the game. And to me, that's just unacceptable. I mean, it's not the end of the world, right? It's not going to be a dramatic difference, but the fact that that even is a thing, to me, is a problem. And again, over time, with Call of Duty multiplayer, as more games release, I wonder how much more extensive skill-based matchmaking is going to get. How far will they really go with implementing systems like this? When you have a bad game of Call of Duty multiplayer, it's not always skill-based matchmaking. Do you guys ever think of how Call of Duty multiplayer has been around for so long? I mean, since COD 4, so to speak, to the point where players are just getting better. You know, year after year after year. If you have the same people playing Call of Duty multiplayer, and yeah, it's a small percentage, but if you have the same people playing year after year, they eventually get better. So over time, lobbies just get tougher. It's not always skill-based matchmaking. And on top of that, a form of skill-based matchmaking has been in Call of Duty multiplayer since maybe the Black Ops 2 days. It's just never been as severe as it is now. Modern Warfare 2019 was definitely the most severe, but Black Ops Cold War has took it a step further, especially when your ping is affected. Personally, the only issue I've really had with multiplayer in Black Ops Cold War is that sometimes I get into gunfights where I feel like I'm shooting ghost pellets. I feel like my bullets just don't register. Yeah, sometimes I miss, but most of the time I see some gunfights that I just question. I'm like, wait a second, I shot the person, nothing happened. I didn't even get a hit marker. He turns around and just, you know, knocks me. And I'm like, what happened there? I feel these really laggy gunfights sometimes, but I'm on a PS5, whereas Drifter and a few other content creators have mentioned that it's a more noticeable problem on PC. And in that case, the issue is above skill-based matchmaking. matchmaking, not related at all actually. It's really a core issue with the game that I believe could be fixed with a patch or a hotfix in the future. But with that being said, for those out there that defend skill-based matchmaking, saying that it's going to make you a better player, here's my counter argument to that. Call of Duty multiplayer is supposed to be an arcade shooter, not a competitive game. So why does the game have to decide for us if we want to get better? Back then it was about putting in the work if you wanted to get better. You learn how to control objectives, learn how to control maps. You learn why you got your ass kicked if you did. That's what multiplayer has always been about. It shouldn't be, oh yeah, a game's going to decide for you that you need to get better against players at your skill level. It just doesn't make sense. There's no argument behind that. And like I said, I've been playing multiplayer since COD 4, so when you see good gameplay in the background of Black Ops Cold War, it's not because I reverse boosted. I just play some really good multiplayer, and I would definitely consider myself a somewhat above average player, constantly getting play of the game, dropping kill streaks. It's because I put in the time. I've been playing multiplayer for the past decade, so of course, when a new game drops, I can quickly adapt to the new mechanics, the new weapons, the new maps. That's just me, but for players out there that are new to Call of Duty multiplayer, it's going to be a different story now. Why is skill-based matchmaking at this point where it's trying to tell us everybody's a winner, everybody gets a participation medal? Why is it like that now? It just never was like that back in the day, but I'm not going to be the one to rant for hours and hours across several videos about why skill-based matchmaking should be removed. It's worth noting, and this is really important now, listen up. Skill-based matchmaking likely isn't going anywhere, and the sad reality behind that is that we'll probably never get transparency about it either. We'll probably never get a blog post or a statement or a tweet from anybody that explains why it's in the game or even how it works. You've had developers here and there kind of tease that it's a bit of a complex system that can't just be turned off with a button, and in that case, Black Ops Cold War probably isn't going to change in the way that people might want it to. But remember, Activision has some type of statistic behind the scenes which proves that skill-based matchmaking is somehow benefiting them, whether it means people are spending more money on the game now or microtransactions, whether it means something else. Who knows what the reasoning actually is, because it isn't skill-based matchmaking, it's performance-based matchmaking. So it's not really as fair as you might think that it is, because there's no visible rank next to your name. You don't know how good you actually are at the game and why the game is putting you against really high-skilled players. The thing is, the more skill you get, the harder the game gets, but there's nothing to show for it. If there was an icon displayed next to your name, that's different. You know how good you are and what you're getting put up against. That's why people out there suggested a ranked playlist, right? Where it puts you in a division and you know what the hell is going on with how hard your lobbies are going to get. And if you don't want to do that, because for whatever reason they just haven't wanted to do that, if they don't want to put in a ranked playlist, then at least please give us an icon to show us how this matchmaking works. Now what's funny about this is the amount of excuses you're going to be seeing from so many people out there in the community, right? Saying they had a bad day or a bad week on Black Ops Cold War because of skill-based matchmaking. And, you know, think back, right? When Call of Duty multiplayer first dropped in COD 4, think about this, right? Are you telling me that you never had a bad game in any previous Call of Duty because there was no skill-based matchmaking? Of course you're going to have bad days. Of course you're going to have bad weeks. Things like that happen. And on top of that too, players are getting better because multiplayer has been around for so damn long. So don't use skill-based matchmaking as an excuse every single time you have a bad game. It's just multiplayer. People play like shit. Modern Warfare encouraged that so much as well with the base game mechanics, no dead silence, right? And being rewarded for playing with the 725 and whatnot. That game encouraged it. You're going to have players from Modern Warfare that have jumped onto Black Ops Cold War to play just how they did last year. And you're going to have players in Black Ops Cold War that abuse some of the weapons and exploits and mechanics that are in this game, which also reward bad behavior like that. Camping and just being an asshole. You're going to see that all the way around. That has nothing to do with skill-based matchmaking whatsoever. Now, also a very huge point when it comes to skill-based matchmaking is a video that I made quite some time ago talking about how you could apparently turn off skill-based matchmaking in Modern Warfare and Warzone by simply appearing offline, but the catch is that it only worked on the Xbox. It was an exploit that worked for some people and not others. And the thing was, even people on Xbox couldn't get it to work, but other people on Xbox did manage to get it to work. I made that video to raise awareness, could not get that to work on PlayStation or PC, but I made the video with some big disclaimers that yeah, it doesn't work for other platforms as of now, but it does work for some people on the Xbox. Of course, some people still were hating in the comments, but I made that video to show you that apparently in Modern Warfare and Warzone, if you appeared offline, it somehow didn't track your stats, therefore it wouldn't place you in tougher and tougher lobbies over time if you're playing well. Now, I don't think this would work on Black Ops Cold War, but if you have an Xbox and you want to test that out, please be my guest and let me know what you found down below in the comments. But speaking of the Xbox, we have some other hard data that I found very interesting, as reported first by those other YouTubers, and the data has to do with the skill gap across different platforms. What they found, generally speaking, is that higher skilled players will be on a PlayStation or a PC, while lower skilled players will generally be on an Xbox. This is not asking to start a console war down below in the comments. This doesn't mean that everybody that plays Xbox is bad at Call of Duty multiplayer, but this is only based on their hard data. But again, their data is limited. They had a limited sample size, so don't take that as fact for everyone out there in the community. This is only dealing with their data, and if this is in fact true or even isn't true, I would love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Turn crossplay off on your Xbox and let me know if your lobbies get any easier. I'm very curious on that. But they had crossplay on for just about all of their data collection, so they went really in depth with this and tested it extensively. I can stress that by watching all of their videos. Now to end this video, I also wanted to make clear that there are quite a few Activision patents floating around which have sparked some controversy, but I can assure you only a few of them actually apply to Call of Duty, and not even current Call of Duties. There was a few having to do with Advanced Warfare, banning reverse boosters. There were even some other patents talking about SBMM affecting your hit detection or buying microtransactions, which could help you with some of your matchmaking. Some of these were actually filed for Skylanders, not even Call of Duty, but of course there are people blowing this out of the water thinking that it's for Black Ops Cold War, and it's not. But as of right now, there's no evidence to suggest that spending money on microtransactions helps you out with the performance or skill-based matchmaking. Maybe this will change when the Season 1 event actually begins and the market opens up and you can then buy a ton of skins. Maybe this will actually affect your matchmaking, but as of right now, according to the current test, that is not the case. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave all your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on skill-based matchmaking? Again, I brought this video from a very transparent standpoint, trying to make it very clear to everybody how it works, while also throwing in a few of my opinions without being toxic. You can criticize the game in a respective way so that it helps the game over time. You give advice to developers. You tweet out, friendly comments that voice your opinion on something. You can do that without being a goddamn asshole on the internet. It is that simple, and this is all coming from content creators who also do this as their livelihood, just as I do. So with that being said, nobody wants to see the community upset, but it is worth bringing to the table the most amount of evidence we could possibly find regarding how skill-based matchmaking works, since clearly Activision doesn't plan on doing so for the foreseeable future. But really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everyone.